Well, good afternoon, Ross. I didn't tell you. I changed up the intro a little bit.
I loved it. I was jamming back here, yo.
I know, man, a little bit. So I
That was
had
awesome.
that kind of time. Yeah, I had that kind of time, so I did it. And so, hey guys, good afternoon, or depending on where you're at. Well, hello for whatever time zone you might be in, but welcome to another episode of Second and Saints. Won't be a super long one, but obviously it's a big day. The NFL schedule releases out. We learned a lot about week 1 games, week 2 games, international games, all those things that we were hoping to hear about, but you're here probably for the Saints one. So we've put together the whole schedule for you that we've got and all that fun stuff. But Ross, how are you doing, man? You're on a little bit of a retreat type thing and working and not working and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm on a work retreat out in southern Utah right now. It's one of the most beautiful places. I love Utah as a whole, but southern Utah just like has my heart. It's so beautiful. And so out here, John, you've done such a wonderful job with the schedule and everything like that. We've been working at that like all throughout the day and stuff like that. So just being able to pull away here on my lunch break real quick to basically come out, do a show, and then I'll do a little Locked On Saints show. So, the grind never stops, man. The grind never stops.
Literally took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say the grind never stops, and that's true. So let's just hop into it because that's the big thing is we're looking at the Saints schedule, and the big thing is we heard a few things that came out, and then let's see, let me find it, and you do some talking while I pull it up. So
yes,
because talking.
No, one of the early things that I think that we figured out from this Saints schedule is that like there's still a little bit of a draw for New Orleans. Now, I know that a lot of their primetime games they're going to be getting here are going to end up being mostly about the opponents, but some of the other NFC South teams play those same opponents, and it's the Saints that end up getting 3 primetime games in this one, including 2 Monday Night Football games. So that for me is a big takeaway that there's still an opportunity here for this team, despite everything that's kind of been circulating around them or the uncertainty of where they are, where they were headed post Breeze, post Peyton, that they're still finding their way into these primetime opportunities.
Yeah, 3 primetime games for the Saints, and we're going to get into that shortly. But obviously, we knew about Sean Payton, and I wrote about this the other day and joked and said they're going to face a division opponent, and then they're going to face him on a short week because that's the most Sean Payton Saints thing that could ever happen, right? So that's going to happen soon. But let's dive into preseason because it was reported, not that long ago, and we confirmed it, obviously, that they're going to play the Cardinals, the 49ers, and then the third preseason opponent when they come back home is going to be the Titans. And so that 49ers game is going to be one of those that's broadcast on Fox. They're supposed to have joint practices with them. So big deal. And obviously that's going to be really interesting, but joint practices with San Francisco. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, what better opponent to be able to kind of, sharpen iron against, than a team that appeared in the Super Bowl last year. I mean, joint practices have a lot of value. It gives you an opportunity as a player to go up against somebody that you haven't gone up against 70 to 100 times over and over and over again, all throughout training camp. And it also gives you an opportunity to just practice against a different scheme, practice against a different style of play. And so I think that obviously, we always talk about how important those joint practices are. You hear it from the players too about how important those joint practices are. So being able to get that done up against the San Francisco 49ers, I think is big. That's a really, really good setup for New Orleans.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to be upset about that. I mean, Kyle Shanahan and Clint Kubiak, all that fun stuff. I mean, that's going to be pretty fun to see. I mean, it's preseason, y'all. So, I mean, you got to look at that. But there's plenty of storylines to be had. But let's go into the meat and potatoes. Let's talk about the NFL schedule. So, breaking it down a little bit for you guys. So that is supposed to be the schedule. That's the one we got. Obviously we talked about the primetime games, but opening up the season against Carolina, closing the season at Tampa. I thought it could have been Carolina at one point, but I was thinking they were going to buck that trend. No pun intended, buck the trend where they're not playing in November, December in Tampa, but I don't mind it. I'm not okay. I mean, like, I'm not upset that they're going to play in Tampa in December at the end of the year. Well, technically it'd be January, but it's still going to be nice weather out there. But first several weeks you're looking at the Panthers. Then you've got 2 NFC East opponents. You're going to go at Cowboys, which I'm surprised that wasn't a primetime game. I really am surprised and disappointed because their last several, excluding the 2012 matchup, have all been in primetime. And Saints fans are going to show out. They're going to travel for that one, but really interesting that they're going to go out, and that's going to be a big test on the road. Then week 3 against the Eagles at home, and then week 4 at the Falcons. So let's take this in blocks, I guess, if you will. And first 4 weeks, what's your thoughts and, maybe what you're thinking?
That's a tough 4 weeks, man. And it's going to be another tough couple of weeks after that, too. I think there's kind of a clear delineation between when the schedule is tough and when the schedule is easier. This feels tough in terms of opening up against, you're going to have early division opponents, of course, but then going up against two teams that have been in playoff contention and Super Bowl conversation for the past couple of years in the Dallas Cowboys at their house, and then Philadelphia finally coming back to the Superdome, not having to go to Philly to play that game. That's kind of nice. But being able to kind of see it or have that sort of testing early on in the season, right? This is a big barometer, big measurement, big yardstick for where the Saints really will be through their first 4 games. And look, we have to expect that they're not going to start fast, particularly over on the offensive side, because they're implementing an entirely new system. So they get an opportunity to put that to the test, but it's kind of nice actually to get these tougher opponents out of the way early, so you can really kind of get the kick in the pants to make sure that you're, actively improving and setting into that scheme and getting all your legs underneath you with that new sort of environment and system.
Yeah, and let's not forget too, there's 2 divisional opponents that are on that schedule. So I mean,
that's part of what makes it tough.
Be a big limit test. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but that's important games because this is a team, you remember last year that some of those games come back to haunt you, and you remember the Green Bay game. That's what stuck with them the whole time, that week 3 game. And so obviously playing at Philly and early in the season, that's going to be a big Superdome crowd. I mean, I remember when they were here plenty of times, over the years, and it'll be a fun affair, but you got I've seen people say, oh, they're going to automatically start 1-0 again under Dennis Allen. I mean, presumably you might think that, but it's going to be interesting because they got some stuff to figure out. But I think Dallas and Philly, those 2 are the big tests for me. But at Atlanta, got a little bit of a salty taste in that mouth last time they played. Although the ludicrous thing was pretty awesome. The other stuff that happened with their 50 years of tribute or whatever.
Yeah, 50 years of hip hop. That did not go great.
Yeah, did not. And so first 4 weeks, pretty interesting. They can go either way. I mean, they can go 500. Hopefully they don't go 1-3, but it could be 3-1 if they surprise us, if they can figure things out offensively. But the next little block at Chiefs versus Bucks. Then the Broncos on a short week. Sean Payton comes to town. Then at Chargers. So you start getting the AFC West kind of coming in here. Chiefs, Monday Night Football. I'm a little bit surprised at this one. But Patrick Mahomes, we know, not because Patrick Mahomes and all that stuff, but the Saints would be a primetime game on Monday Night Football. Your thoughts on the second block?
Yeah, I think this is the part of the continuation for me. I think the cutoff is at week 7, maybe week 8, to where it's kind of like you get a lot of tough opponents out of the way early, and then your schedule gets increasingly easy right in the middle of the stretch. We don't know who the Chargers are going to be yet, but with Harbaugh there, I kind of expect them to be something, obviously. And you got a really good quarterback there. You've got really good pieces over there. And so I would probably put maybe the cutoff here at the week 8 game being kind of the place where, okay, you got a lot of tough opponents out of the way, unfamiliar opponents, AFC opponents, and then now all of a sudden you move through. The NFL's biggest miss of the scheduling of the 2024 NFL season was not allowing the New Orleans Saints to open their season at home against Sean Payton. That was their single biggest miss, outside of maybe 2 Wednesday games on Christmas or whatever that is that they have going on. This was the biggest miss for me. But I like kind of the positioning of this. It's on Thursday Night Football. It's a primetime game. You get it under the lights. You get it on Amazon, all those other things. You get to stretch the new TV deals, blah, blah, blah. But it stinks that it's on the short week. So for me, these next 4 games, the first 8 games, very tough. Last 9 games, things get a little bit easier.
Yeah, I'm just laughing because the streaming, don't
oh my goodness, dude.
This is all about money, guys. Like, I mean,
100%.
I can't remember who was it that put it out, but saying it's going to almost cost $1,000 if you want 6 months of the NFL for subscriptions. Like, that's ridiculous. But you always talk about the salary cap going up and all this. This is why, because all these people are going to shell out this money. And so as long as you got people backing it, I mean, this is kind of what happens. I am, again, I was surprised about the Chiefs being a Monday Night Football, but I'll take it because I can't wait to go to that stadium and see how that goes. The Bucks coming home, and then the Broncos, obviously that's going to be a big deal. Question would be, are they going to give Sean Payton a nice welcome with a tribute, or is it going to be the opposite? And I don't know. That's going to be a fun one to see. And then going out to the West Coast to play the Chargers, 2 back-to-back road games not getting ahead, but at the Chargers, and you're going all the way back to the East Coast to play the Panthers, a division rival. I think that's a little bit underrated. But you do get the Chargers, like you get that mini bye after the Broncos to be able to gear up for the Chargers in that West Coast trip. So that's kind of nice a little bit.
Yeah. And you get the late game for the Chargers too, so it buys you some other hours.
2 late games on the docket this year, one with the Rams and one with the Chargers. I thought the Raiders would be, but keep in mind, it's starting in week 5 that you can actually flex out of games and all these different things too. So stuff can change. Like, while this may seem like what the schedule is, they can change stuff at the drop of a hat too, as long as you got a 12-day notice, which is kind of like, from a logistic standpoint, kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But afterwards, you're looking at week 9 through 13 or week 9 through 12. So at Panthers, that's going to be on CBS. Then you got the Falcons at home and the Browns, which maybe it's Jameis Winston, maybe it's not. That's starting for you. And then you got the ever undefeated bye week that you have to do in week 12, which I think is nice. I know they've had some later ones the last couple of years, and then they had like 2 week 6 buys before that. But week 12 doesn't seem too bad, because when you look at the back part of the schedule, Rams, Giants, Commanders, Packers, Raiders, and the Bucks, I mean, that's a good time to get some rest in and such. But Panthers, Falcons, Browns, some thoughts on those?
Yeah, I think this is where your schedule starts to lighten up. Not that it's easy, but it feels easier than the first 8 games that were on there. You get familiar opponents for the second time, so it's not as weird as when you face them for the first time. You go to Carolina, then you come back, you get 2 games in a row at home before the bye week, and then after the bye week you get another home game, which is nice. So you get a little bit of a stretch there. But I think that their biggest test in these 3 games is probably going to just basically be themselves. Where are they after getting out of that tough 8-game stretch to open up the season? They get to re-establish themselves against Carolina, either by reestablishing another win or by proving that they are better than they were the last time. Same thing with the Falcons. You get to kind of rehash that and kind of see, did we improve at that point? So I kind of like that you get like kind of this mid-season remeasure against opponents that you've already played against. Typically you have early division opponent that you don't see again until late in the season. It's kind of nice to have sort of this place weeks 9 and 10 to go, are we better than we were weeks 1 and 5 or whatever, or 1 and 4 against those division opponents. I like that ability to kind of be able to remeasure that 20-yard split, if you will.
Yeah, and you go on, like, to your point, week 6 you play the Bucks, and then week 18 you play the Bucks. So I mean, and that one could come down to the division. I don't think that's by chance, but we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't come to that this year. Oh, great. I always love to notice typos on it. But after the bye week, you get to rest up for a Sean McVay team. Sorry, I forgot to close the parenthesis over there. That's the anal side of me that's noticing that, the OCD side.
Yeah, we're just trying to be
it happens. It happens. It happens. It's okay. So week 13 to 16. I mean, we could take this back half of it because
it's the whole thing. Really.
Looking at Rams. I'm sorry, with the Rams coming to town, that's gonna be a big one. And then 2 cold weather games that you're looking at is what I see on here. December 8th at the Giants. Not too bad up in New York. Then and then you got the Commanders back at home, and then you're at the Packers on Monday Night Football. Which again, I was a little bit shocked on that one. That they're on Monday Night Football, but a couple days before Christmas, it's gonna be cold. It might be snowing. It might be fun. And then the Derek Carr revenge game, if you will, against the Raiders in the Dome the following week. And then you close out the year at the Bucks. So hit me with it. What you got?
Yeah, no, I think this is great. This is a nice kind of closing up because you've got all NFC opponents with the exception of that Raiders game, and you're going to be jostling for playoff position with the Rams. You're going to be jostling for playoff position with the Packers. You're going to be jostling for maybe the Giants are in that conversation as well. These are some potential playoff implication teams. The Commanders could get there too, depending upon how quickly Jaden Daniels gets them up off of their tushes. But then you have that like closing out potentially for the division against the Bucks, assuming that this team, the Saints, is in playoff conversation. This is a nice way to wrap up the schedule to where you can control your own destiny late. This is the thing that I like about this is that there aren't a bunch of AFC opponents at the end of the schedule, where it's a lot of like, if you win, it improves your record. If you lose, it knocks your record down, but doesn't help you in terms of tiebreakers. Here, the Saints would be able to effectively control their own destiny in terms of those tiebreakers. So I like this better. This minimizes, it doesn't completely wipe it away, but this minimizes the seemingly yearly tradition of the Saints players having to sit in the locker room and watch an afternoon game to figure out what the fate of their playoff life is. This really feels like they should be able to have some control, or at least some say into how the season, how their postseason opportunity winds up.
Yeah, 3 home games, 3 away games in that final stretch. And so, this is a team, obviously, we're going to know that they hopefully don't start slow, but they can finish strong. And against, and when you talk about finishing strong, yeah, there are some games, but they're going to have to win a lot of the early games to be even in that position. But that Packers game, I think, is going to mean a lot for sure. The Bucks one for sure. Giants Commanders is a little bit interesting. The Rams, obviously, again, bad taste in their mouth from last time when McVay got the absolute best on Dennis Allen there. And so, again, I think it's you look at this schedule overall, I don't see any type of crazy nightmares or anything that's like just out of the ordinary that say, oh man, this is what it is. Now, this is the gut reaction. This is the fresh takes, obviously, on this and such. But, the early part of the schedule is going to be pretty hard. That first 6-7 weeks are going to be pretty tough. And then the mid part is going to be a little bit interesting depending on what type of teams you get. And then in the back half, once you get off of the bye week, that's hopefully where you're going to be playing your best football, but they definitely have to ramp this thing up for sure. And so, I say schedule predictions. I say all this early stuff. I'm not going anything over 9-8 this year. I can tell you that much. That
I've been
shot. Snake bitten in the past. I think I said 11-6 last year. I think I said 10 the year before and stuff. I'm like, I ain't going anything over 9 wins, like until I see something completely different. But the way this schedule lines up, it begs the question. I think where they're going to go and how they're going to finish it remains to be seen, because you pointed out early in the season that they are going to have some learning curve with the Clint Kubiak offense. And look, I think it's going to be pretty awesome once it all comes together. But at the same time, you're going to have some of those early jitters. And look, you talk about the offensive line. You're going to be tested really quickly against Dallas and Philadelphia coming out of the gate. And so if you don't do particularly well against their pretty fairly, very, very talented front seven, it might be a really tough thing for them. But, I like this schedule. I think it's good. I think it's not too crazy on us as writers and people that cover this team, that, you don't have too crazy of a travel, if you will. And that's
this is kind of nice.
I don't know about Green Bay though. That one in December is going to be really close to when it's close to Christmas. I just don't know how we're going to get up there.
I might cover Green Bay from home, dog. I'm not lying.
Can you drive a snowmobile? Can you do that? Right. Is that even a possibility?
I'm on my Keon Coleman with the snowmobile. You ain't catching me on none of those. No, but look, I think the other thing that's really nice about this schedule too is that there's no long road trips. You got one instance of 2 back-to-back away games, I believe. No, 2 instances. Yeah, you've got the easy travel to, because you got,
8, 9.
Yep, you got easy travel to Atlanta, and then you come back, then you go to Kansas City, and then you've got easy travel to LA, come back, and you've got easy travel to Carolina. So that's not terrible in terms of the road trip, the kind of road schedule that they've got going on. And they have some nice homestands all throughout this as well. So I give that to them too, just as a little bit of a nod that like that's another piece of the schedule that's really, really favorable, is that they're not in a situation where they have like 2 road games, a bye week, and then another road game or something like that, to where like you don't play at home for a month. The Saints won't encounter that here.
Yeah. And it'll be fun to see. I mean, I think, all of it, when it comes together, it'll be a thing of beauty, hopefully. And this is a team that has to get back into playoffs. And there's, everybody talks about strength of schedule. They have one of the easiest ones again, which again, we've talked about it. And I don't think it's really a big thing. And so, but it is this thing that exists out there. And so, they have the extra home game too. They have 9 home games, and they actually have an extra home game. Like the first time they played in London. So
that's right. Overall, that one was one of their 9 home.
Yeah. So overall, not too bad. And again, if you want this all written up, definitely check out Saints News Network. We got a whole write up over there. We'll have plenty of things to talk about on that. But we just wanted to come in, wanted to show you the schedule, wanted to talk about the schedule real quick. And obviously, Ross is a man of many talents and very busy. So definitely want to respect his time today, even though we just kind of did this impromptu hop on and stuff. And again, don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Y'all are fantastic. Y'all have been amazing to us, and we're only continuing to grow as a channel. So it's only because of the support of Who Dat Nation and football fans around. So we really do appreciate that. Ross, as always, before we get out of here, what you got plugging, what you're going to talk about, and
I'm literally gonna hop off.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm literally about to hop off here and then go and do a live show over at Locked On Saints. So we're gonna we'll just keep the schedule talk going. We'll just keep the schedule talk going.
So you go from here to Locked On Saints. That's the course of because he does Locked On Saints to here. So y'all do the vice versa of it. But, yeah, lots to talk about for sure. Yep. And we'll have plenty more of it. We're just kind of wanted to do this. And so we'll break this down fully more on Saints News, Locked On here, the sky, Mars, wherever it needs to be. But guys, that's going to do it for us today. Enjoy the rest of your football day. If you have any questions, hit us up on X, Twitter. I don't know why I call it X. It's not X, it's Twitter.
It's Twitter.
Or any of the other many means that we have. Y'all have a good one. Stay good, people.